massive bombshell news. Elon Musk reveals that, according to him, President Trump is in the Epstein files. Ha! Those of you who've been paying close attention know that about a month or so ago, the Epstein files were released, or so they said, and had zero details. A lot of people raised their eyebrows and then, of course, got distracted. But there was one individual who suggested there was maybe one very good and obvious reason why there were no names released in the Epstein files. And that could have been perhaps because President Trump was included. Dan Abrams, founder of Mediaite, chief legal analyst of ABC News, owner of lots of things, he released the following video suggesting and making the argument that the real reason why we didn't see any of the names in the Epstein files was perhaps because Trump was in there. Following, watch this clip from Dan, who spells out and makes the argument way better than I could.
That's not what many on the right have been calling for, right? They want to see the black book stuff. They want to see the Bill Clinton stuff. But do they also want to see the Donald Trump stuff? I have talked on this show a number of times about the Epstein files. And I have said that I am wondering whether the delay in releasing the files relates to the fact that Donald Trump is certainly going to be in them. Why? Because it has come out in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, for example, that Trump rode 7 times on the plane, on the Epstein plane. And Robert Kennedy Jr. has also ridden on Epstein's plane. So when we talk about the Epstein files, what people are really talking about is I want to know who else he was affiliated with. And he was affiliated with Trump and Kennedy, in addition to, by the way, to Bill Clinton, who rode on it even more, or Bill Gates and others. So it's not that somehow this was a unique to Trump issue, but they would have a very hard time figuring out how to redact the Trump portion and releasing the Clinton portion, right? I don't know that that's the reason, but I suspect it could have something to do with it. Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who has been a big sort of conspiracy theorist on Epstein, and on his show before he became the deputy FBI director, had suggested that, you know, there was more to the story. Well, let me start there. All right, let's start at number 8. This is from the Dan Bongino show. This says February 6, 2025. Is that correct? We'll confirm that in a moment. But here he is before he became deputy director of the FBI.
And now with the DOJ flipping over, folks, if we don't uncover the full Epstein story, there is a huge hole in the follow the money, follow the influence picture.
Right. That's what people are really interested in, right? Now, Bongino is now trying to claim that what people really want to know is whether there was a conspiracy to kill him. Now, that's one of the things people are interested in, right? And I've never believed that there was a conspiracy to kill him. I know a lot of people want to believe that. And now that Bongino and Kash Patel have had access to the actual files and the videos, they're both coming out and saying there was no conspiracy. He did this himself. But we're not getting the sort of promises that we once got about all the files being released. That's what makes me suspicious. So here is Deputy Director Bongino last night on, it might have been this morning, actually, on Fox News.
What happened with Epstein? Can you say with confidence, as a lot of people, you used to be their guy when it comes to podcasts, appearing on Fox News, but now as a law enforcement officer, can you say we have all the information?
Well, I'm never going to say we have all of it. And people ask me all the time, are these cases closed? And whether they're closed administratively is irrelevant. If new tips come in, we're absolutely going to follow them. And that's why I always put out, if you have additional information, please let us know. Those 2 cases obviously are of significant public interest. I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case. And there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly.
All right, so hang on a second. So there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly, right? So that isn't related to the files. This is related to the question of, did Epstein kill himself? And it is amazing, right? That when you can just sit on the outside and just say, oh, this might be a conspiracy, and I'm just asking questions and doing that whole game stuff. It's very different, right, than actually being in power and having access to the actual information and being like, oh, well, yeah, I guess there's no conspiracy. I know it's not as interesting. But here's what Bongino says that they are going to release soon.
We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not
There's video
know.
of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay, there was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him.
Right.
There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
I believe that. I 100% believe that. No apologies coming from the Bonginos and Patels of the world for all the conspiracies that they were putting out. But it doesn't really address the question of the files themselves. Now, let's talk about Kash Patel, the FBI director. This is Patel last year, before he became the FBI director.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is I mean, there's
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
the Black Book. It's not just sitting. I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book.
Day one, roll out the Black Book. Okay, so now that he's actually FBI director, Brett Baer of Fox News, to his credit, asked specifically about the files yesterday. And this is number one. This is what Kash Patel said.
The other thing on the internet is the Epstein files. What's the answer to that?
The answer to that is the same as everything else. I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever. But I'm also not going to rush to get it out there in a format in which they can't rely on it. So on the Epstein matter or any other matters, we are diligently working on that. And it takes time to go through years of investigations, years of political maneuvering, and years of cover-up to get the American people what they deserve. And that's what I'm going to give them on everything.
Years of cover-up? I mean, cover-up by who? Because, again, Attorney General Pam Bondi first told us in February that, oh, it's coming, we're going to release everything. And then it's like, well, I guess we're not going to be able to release it so fast. You tell me why. Why? This is not me just asking questions in the dishonest way that some people say, I'm just asking questions. This is me using evidence and facts to ask questions. The evidence is that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were both saying, we got to get this information out. Now that they're in this administration, they're saying, well, we got to take our time. This is the explanation being used by the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. This is from more than 2 months ago. All right. More than 2 months ago. Here's what she said. This is number 11.
Tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of of Jeffrey Epstein. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of of all of these horrific crimes that he committed.
The idea that they're working round the clock, the FBI agents, I guess now it's been 3 months of working round the clock on redacting information in the Epstein files. That makes sense. I mean, why would you have FBI agents spending so much time on this question? I'm asking about it not because I think it's important that the Epstein files be released. I'm asking about it because they keep promising, and because Bongino and Patel have changed their view on this so much that it makes any reasonable person suspicious about what's going on. So I expect we're going to see the video that they have that will support the idea that there was no conspiracy. I believe that. But that's not what many on the right have been calling for, right? They want to see the black book stuff. They want to see the Bill Clinton stuff. But do they also want to see the Donald Trump stuff, if there is anything in there? I mean, again, what we know is that he flew on the plane 7 times.